Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your continued support of the renovation and restoration of the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, also known as Sajdah House, located at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. As emerging markets are developed and history is being made, not everyone understands the importance of personal involvement like many of you do. Projects like this are often shadow boycotted, mocked, and ignored. But change doesn't just happen. As Muslims, we don't believe in a spook God. We don't stand around and wait for someone to do for us what we can do for ourselves. We understand that freedom ain't free, and historic preservation projects like this require that the right-minded people get involved. It's easy to complain about our forgotten history, but if we don't preserve our history, who will? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is quoted as saying, "Don't withhold your good just because another withholds his good. You do your part." Our event last Friday was successful. We had a lot of wonderful attendees, wonderful participation. Thank you and shout out to the congressmen and mayors who supported and were a part of the event. Thank you to our gracious hosts and sponsors. But we didn't meet our financial goal. I have less than 20% of the renovation work to complete, and I still need your help. It's not too late to become a part of history. It's not too late to do your part, and it's not too late to do more. You can financially support this effort by making a donation and or purchasing a commemorative Elijah coin. To purchase a commemorative Elijah coin, just visit sajdahhouse.com. That's SAJDAHHOUSE.com. To make a donation, visit sajdahhousedonations.com. That's SAJDAHHOUSEDONATIONS.com. In addition, I humbly ask that you spread the word to other like-minded, pioneering people who understand the importance of this type of work and desire to be a part of this sacred effort. We don't need everybody to support. We just need those who understand the importance of doing their part. Follow the project on Instagram at Sajdah House. I may be shadow banned, so be sure to like the page and turn on your notifications so that you're alerted when posts are made. And so that we can stay in touch outside of social media, just join my mailing list by texting Do For Self. That's DO, the number 4, SELF to 855-574-9099. Thank you for your continued prayers and blessings. I love all the beautiful compliments and comments that you guys are sending to me, and I ask for your continued blessing. This ain't easy work, but we're going to get it done. I'm grateful beyond words. May Allah continue to bless you. I personally wish you more goodness than you have ever received or imagined.
This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1-ounce 39mm coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.
Muslims, you shouldn't be around here looking to white people to give you a job. Go look in message to the black man and the economic blueprint And if there are 4 of you, 6 of you, 8 of you together, pool your resources, go into business and set up business all over the south and west side of Chicago. But if you poor and we poor, hell man, we can't be around here poor. I want to see rich Muslims. And if you obey Allah, there's no reason why you can't make a business successful. You just have to get up and stop being lazy and trifling and go do something for yourself.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself.
Yes,
So the challenge is an education that enlivens us to do business. Business is the activity of life itself. Every creature is born with the inherent ability to attract out of this material earth what it needs to perpetuate its species.
Assalamu alaikum, family. How are you? Welcome to the show. My name is Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you. For those of you who don't know what assalamu alaikum means, it just simply means peace be unto you. And welcome to week 19 of the MOEToday, or the Mind of an Entrepreneur Today series on manifestation, based upon the book written by Charles F. Haanel called The Master Key System. This series is an extension of my brand, The Mind of an Entrepreneur, or MOEToday for short. So the Mind of an Entrepreneur brand of products and services explores mental strategies and offers free game on how to navigate the world of business. We got a lot of show to cover tonight. So I'm going to jump right in, if y'all don't mind. Okay. I see some of you all on. Welcome. Let's jump on into this because we got a lot of show to cover. I always like to set my intention, and my goal is to give you access to mental strategies that will help you navigate the world of business. I want to personally do my part to contribute to you receiving more happiness, or being happier, healthier, stronger, wealthier. And I want you to experience more love. And I want to build a model using mental strategies that will help make doing for self infectious. So assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the show. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Also on Instagram, I'm on there in 2 places, at MOEToday Universe, MOEToday Universe, and at Sajdah House, SAJDAH HOUSE. Y'all know not to chip and dip me. I'm about to give you something that's going to change your life. You receive something, give me something back. You see the Cash App scrolling across there, or make a donation to Sajdah House. We've got on this channel some amazing shows, and I'm not going to tell you about them right now because we have so much content to cover tonight. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and was just full with all of this information. How many of us have dreams? Tell me in the chat. You got dreams? Respond in the chat. How many of you have goals? Let me know. Respond in the chat if you have goals. Do you believe that you deserve to live the life of your dreams? Do you really believe it? Do you really believe it? Do you really believe that you deserve to live the life of your dreams? Answer me in the chat if you really honestly do believe that. For me, I believe, and I know it. I believe in my heart that I believe that I deserve to live the life of my dreams. I know it. It's a knowing, and I don't care what nobody else thinks about it. What I deserve is part of my knowing. And so I work within that space of knowing and manifesting every single day. I have 5 primary dreams that I wholeheartedly believe that I deserve, and I know that I'm going to get it without a doubt. But why is it that we can believe and we can feel like we deserve, we can think we know, and not get what we are believing in, or what we deserve, or what we know we can achieve? Here's a destructive mental habit that we have to break today. Do you know that many of us spend more time negotiating ourselves out of our beliefs than we do affirming our worthiness? Whatever we want is available to us, but we spend way too much time focused on why we are not worthy, and who's trying to stop us, and why it's not happening. When we are in a position where we're doing something really big, or something that people would not expect us to do, or that maybe people don't really want us to do, do you know that those voices of opposition can overshadow your certainty? When people are always telling you how much so-and-so don't like you, or how much so-and-so don't really like what you're doing, and how much so-and-so be talking about you, and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. See, this kind of energy can oftentimes gain more momentum than your desires. Sometimes you just can't help but to deal with the opposition. Sometimes you got to do it. You can't ignore it and put your head in the sand. You got to strategize. You got to play chess, not checkers. Because many times it's right in your face and you don't even know it. You don't even know that those naysayers and those people who are constantly reporting back to you. Because here's what happened. Now, it happens to me all the time. You're working on a big project. And I'm a firm believer that if you, as my friend or my loved one, if you're working on something, or if it's something that you want, then in my mind, I'm going to be trying to do what I can to get you there. That's just me. That's how I function. But a lot of times people aren't like that. A lot of times people will call you and pretend like they down with you, but they really calling to keep score. They're really calling to say like, damn, she's still at it. Damn, he's still alive. Damn, he's still trying to do it. Man, she a little closer. Look like she gonna get it. So they really just calling to keep score. And if you catch yourself doing that with things where you're constantly taking score and not really doing your part to support a loved one or a family member, then I think we have to check ourselves. Because if a friend of mine says, hey, I want to buy a house, even if I don't know anything about buying houses, I'm going to say, hey, let's look up some stuff. Let's see what we can do. I'll go with you. I don't even know what I'm looking at, but I'm down with you. That's support. But we're going to talk about that. The mental games that we have to play with ourselves is some of what I want to talk about today. Because when you have all this programming that's going on outside of you, sometimes you can think that you're on the right track, but you just need some help. And the question becomes, how does this happen? How can you be bopping along, so happy and so certain, but yet you have a negative programming going on in the back of your head? Some of us actually have to take inventory of ourselves. And I do this to myself sometimes. If I find myself doing something that I know I should not be doing at this experience level, at this time, I check myself. If I'm working a job or if I'm doing something, I say, you know what? I'm going to work this job for now, but I should be doing something way more. I'm going to go ahead and handle right now what I got to do on this level. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, but I'm real clear that I should be 10 levels ahead. That's how you should be thinking. And then you start working towards how you're going to feel when you get to those 10 levels and the next level and the next level and the next level. And then you chase that. Some people believe in going and digging up old stuff and analyzing it. And somehow that's supposed to lessen the impact of that thing on their lives. I just don't believe in that type of therapy and that type of work. To tell someone that they have to relive something in order to get rid of it makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, it can help you to admit some things, but reliving, to me, in my opinion, a bad situation over and over again by talking about it over and over again and dissecting it and flipping it upside down and telling the story over and over again, all it does is recreates the mental trauma, the cellular trauma, and the physical impact in your body over and over again. You can cause yourself, in my opinion, a lot of harm just by constantly rethinking a bad situation. And you can actually re-injure yourself just from your thoughts alone. So what's the solution? It's mathematical and tactical, in my opinion. It's not regurgitating the same stuff, the same old stuff over and over again. Here's the deal. We have to figure out what you are doing to create these blind spots. In other words, what mental and emotional tactics are you deploying that are creating these blind spots? Because a lot of times people say, okay, I'm going to just go over this. I'm going to go to therapy. And I'm not against therapy. I'm not against using whatever technology necessarily is out there. I just don't particularly agree with rehashing over and over a whole bunch of traumatic experiences. Because I think what that does is it makes the blind spot, in my opinion, bigger. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is the 5 emotional blind spots that we almost never notice. And this is going to tie just perfectly into part 19 of the book that we're reading. You guys all right? Somebody said, let's see what y'all got to say. Sister Letha said, right. Antoine Bellamy said, you're so right, sister. Alicia said, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes. I'm just not a proponent of that. I know people who call themselves spiritualists. I know people who use different techniques where they want people to just, just rehash all their old stuff. And I just think that that's a mistake, because you really just re-injure yourself. It's no different from a dream. If you keep dreaming the same bad dream every day, then pretty soon you're going to feel like that's happening to you. You're just going to re-injure yourself. So I want to talk today. Let's talk about unraveling some of this stuff in a little bit more tactical way. And again, anybody out there that needs help, that needs to go get, audited, or needs to go and see a therapist, I'm not dissuading you from that. All I'm saying is be very mindful when you're rehashing old stuff over and over and over and over again. I don't even like it when I had a client one time who had a traumatic experience, and he went on a speaking tour about the traumatic experiences in his life. And I was just totally against that, because I said, if you get 50 tours, you're going to tell that negative story 50 times, and you're going to experience it 50 more times, unless you do this kind of work. All right. So here are the 5 emotional blind spots that we almost never notice. I became an emotional intelligence coach to come up with ways to manage my thoughts and increase their intensity and propensity towards manifestation. If you know me, my goal is to be a powerful manifestor. And I can literally show you where in notebooks I've written things out. I've written out things like the type of house I wanted. I've written out the type of businesses I wanted. I've written out things that I've wanted to do. And then in the process of manifesting that, I've manifested that and then some. And so I just want to share my own personal technique with you today. So mine is really focused more on emotional intelligence. Okay. So anyway, the reason why we don't notice these things, the reason why we have these blind spots is because we're using deceptive intelligence as a way of dealing with them. See, unraveling the personal deceptive intelligence that we use has to be our next step. Somebody type in the chat, deceptive intelligence. And then somebody else type, unraveling the deceptive intelligence. Okay, we find out what our traumas are. That's great. But now what do we do about it? And this is how I believe we can help ourselves and you can help others. I can't stand people that get a little bit of technology or understanding, and then they literally canvas your life so that they can identify what is wrong with you. And and then they're like, aha, there it is. But instead of offering you a new way of thinking so that you can unravel the deceptive intelligence that is protecting the thought that is causing the blind spot, they use that aha moment to try to control and manipulate you. And because you are so sensitive to that traumatic experience, you sit there and listen to them rehash your trauma, and you find yourself in an emotional holding pattern that is impeding your ability to manifest. I hope y'all with me. An emotional blind spot. What is an emotional blind spot? Let's put that in the chat. Let's put that question in the chat. What is an emotional blind spot? An emotional blind spot is a psychological vulnerability that you're not aware of. It's a psychological vulnerability that you're not aware of. It's where you're vulnerable psychologically, where your triggers may be. It's a vulnerability, but you're just not aware of it. It's like you're at war and you think you got on an armor that's going to protect you, but you don't realize that the armor doesn't cover certain parts of your body. These emotional blind spots can lead to everything from mood difficulties like anxiety and depression to interpersonal conflict and unhealthy habits like overeating and substance abuse, or just literally little things like staying in your small circle and playing it safe. It is absolutely possible to identify and overcome your blind spots. So here are 5 emotional blind spots that we most likely never notice. Here's the first one. Type this into the chat. Number 1, intellectualizing and spiritualizing your emotions. That's a big one. I literally could do a whole show on this, and I just might do it. Intellectually and spiritualizing your emotions. These can be blind spots. They can be good, but they can be blind spots. You know those people, you might even be that kind of person. That person that really disagrees with you, but instead of working through the disagreement, they think they can trump you by saying, well, Allah is the best of knowers, or if it be the will of Allah, or God willing, or something that they know will stop you in your tracks. See, they know that by saying those kind of things, especially if you're a spiritual person, it's going to stop you in their tracks and give them that kind of one-up on whatever you're thinking or whatever you're about to discover that they're doing to you. See, it's something that they say that's spiritual related. It might be biblically based. It might be Quranic based. It's something spiritual, and they throw it in as a means of manipulation. And what they want to do is prevent you from really further analyzing their behavior. Of course, Allah is the best knower. Of course, we will do it only by Allah's permission. See, intellectualized and over spiritualized emotions are a primitive defense mechanism that is often used to avoid painful feelings and to cover up painful or even deceptive behavior. Avoiding your feelings by intellectualizing or over spiritualizing them keeps you trapped in a cycle of poor self-awareness. So what happens? Instead of going deeper into your own self-awareness, you stay out here in the surface. You don't analyze it. Instead of really using the word of God as a tool to help you go deeper, you use the word of God as an excuse to stay on the surface level. To overcome this form of deceptive intelligence, whether it is you that is the deceiver or someone else, you have to just learn to keep it simple. Have a conversation with yourself about how you really feel. Acknowledge your feeling. Let your gut or your solar plexus speak to you. Let it be honest with you and trust what you are feeling. This is your God within. Keep nourishing that inner voice so that it knows that you won't murder it if it shows you something that you don't like. Express it to yourself. Don't push it down or deny it, because the deceptive person will peep what you ignore and attempt to use it against you, but hold it over your head emotionally or spiritually. And every time they hold it over your head and start talking about it, analyzing it, the moment you seem to get some clarity, they will make a spiritual statement or a so-called spiritual statement that prevents you from going further. You don't have to address them. Address what you are feeling and respond accordingly. You don't need nobody else's permission to do what you believe is right. All right. Number 2, trying to control your emotions. Type that in the chat. That's the second blind spot that we gotta work on unraveling. The first one takes a little time because we all tend to, we nurse on what we call it, like the minister says, the mammary gland of the universe, to pull from it and to make ourselves feel better. We just have to make sure we're not nursing on it as an excuse to not put in the spiritual work. The second one is we have to make sure that we're not trying to do too much emotional control. That's right. Trying to control your emotions. Okay. When you insist on getting rid of your emotions, see, a lot of people think emotional intelligence means that you don't have no emotions, that you just get rid of them. That's not true. When you insist on getting rid of your emotions, you teach your brain that the emotions are the enemy. Your emotions are not your enemy. Type that in the chat. Your emotions are not your enemy. My emotions are not my enemy. See, this leads to a vicious cycle of ever compounding painful moods and emotions. And let me give you 3 examples of how we compound emotions. And in the compounding of these emotions, it makes us difficult to get to the root of the real emotion. Remember, we talked about cause and effect. We don't spend a lot of time out here worrying about the effect. We do what we got to do to put the fire out, but we go to the cause. We go to nature. We go to the root. So check out these 3. I'm going to give you 3 ways that we compound emotion. Here's one. Feeling anxious about feeling sad, or feeling sad about feeling ashamed, or feeling ashamed about being angry. See, the way out of this kind of vicious cycle is simple. Though it's not always easy, it's simple. You have to stop trying to control your emotions directly and accept them for what they are. See, when you're fighting that emotion and you're trying to control that emotion, what happens is you start trying to label the emotion, then you start reacting to the label. And then that starts compounding things, and it makes it difficult for you to find that blind spot. I had to work on this because I'm an extremely sensitive person. And there was a time when every emotion that I would have made me feel embarrassed. I was always embarrassed for how loudly my emotions spoke to me. I'm like that person where my emotions blare in my ear, and I had to learn how to use that as a tool of manifestation until I learned that my emotions are my compass that helped me to pay attention to things along my journey. I was able to stop demonizing my gifts. So I had to learn to embrace my sensitivity. It's like walking along a path, right? And you hear dirt crunching under your feet, and maybe there's some leaves rustling. But all of these things are helping you to know where you're going, what kind of surface you're walking on, which way the wind is blowing. This is what your emotions are doing. They're telling you either you're on the right track or you're not, or tighten this up or tweak that, but you got to know how to read them. So I had to learn that. And when I learned to do that, my life jumped to new heights. If you know me, then you can feel my heart. Why? Because my emotions are my compass. They tell me what direction I'm going in. Did you know that most of what we define as emotional is really our reaction to our emotions? I'm going to say that again. Most of what is defined as emotional is really an emotional reaction to an emotion. That's deep, huh? Like feeling anxious because you're sad. So in this case, we feel sadness, and instead of analyzing the source of the sadness or what is causing the sadness or how we can work through the sadness, what we do is we get anxious. And whatever response we have when we're anxious, we might lie, we might get angry, we might try to blame somebody else, we might try to hurt someone else. But this anxiety is really us feeling anxiety over sadness, for example. That anxiousness may manifest as an anxious cry or a full-blown anxiety attack. So go back to our study on cause and effect. The cause of the anxiety could be sadness. So instead of dealing with the anxiety, which is the effect, deal with the cause. Again, don't get caught up over analyzing the effect. I used to feel ashamed about being embarrassed. But I had another layer. I would be embarrassed about being sensitive or for feeling. So instead of dealing with the shame, which would make me try to shut down my feelings, and that creates a whole different set of physical issues. So instead of shutting down, I had to figure out what was making me feel ashamed or embarrassed. So I was closing off my emotions because I just didn't want to feel. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't know how to read my emotions and understand what my emotions were telling me and what they were showing me. I didn't understand how my emotions tied into my gut and into the God within and into my solar plexus. I didn't get that because I was reacting to an emotion that was a reaction to an emotion. It's only once you're willing to live with your difficult emotions that you can channel your energy into more productive means of feeling good. By changing things in your life, you have to have some control. When you change the way you look at these emotions, the way you see those emotions, and it's just stopping yourself right in it. You feel yourself feeling sad, stop for a minute and say, what just triggered me? What just made me feel sad? If you feel a little fear crop up in your heart, say, whoa, what was that? What just triggered me just then? And stop and ask yourself those questions, because that's going to help you. That's going to help you to know what my triggers are, what's holding me back, what's making me stay stuck. See, all this deceptive intelligence that we use, we make ourselves think that we're just dedicated. We make ourselves think that we're just a strong person, or we're all that. Most time we're none of that. We're really just scared. And our steadfastness is a response to fear. Our so-called dedication and not seeking our own happiness is a reaction to fear. So learning not to control your emotions can help you adjust your behaviors and your actions. It'll impact the types of situations you allow yourself to be in. See, because if you know that deep down inside you're really afraid to step out there, then when you catch yourself being over-dedicated, you'll know what that means. Okay? It'll help you determine where you choose to put your attention, the people you allow in your life, the habits you do or do not stick to. So this is why this type of work is important, because we could be doing something that to everyone else seems very heroic or very pious. The question is, why? Okay? Emotions can only be controlled if you go to the root. You'll only have the energy to do it if you stop attacking yourself for feeling a certain way. Somebody put that in the chat. Stop attacking yourself for feeling a certain way. Let's go to number 3. The third emotional blind spot that we have to all work on. Number 3 is being judgmental or judging our emotions, being overly judgmental of ourselves. How many of us are overly judgmental of ourselves? Like, I know we're so hard on ourselves, especially women. We're always a little too this or a little too that. We're always looking at ourselves and dissecting ourselves, whether it's dissecting our bodies or dissecting our face. We're always dissecting and judging ourselves. And so if we're doing this physically, imagine what we're doing to our emotions. Imagine how we're taking the beauty of our emotions and destroying that tool, that God-given tool, by being judgmental. If you can't control your emotions, it doesn't make any sense to judge yourself for them. Think about that. Don't beat yourself up for feeling a certain way. It's hard enough feeling bad without feeling bad about feeling bad. You'd be surprised at how quickly most painful emotions would subside on their own when you stop compounding them with extra judgments and painful emotions. And here's number 4, running away from your emotions. Kind of the same thing, right? It's natural to want to avoid things that hurt. A lot of us are in situations that we know we should leave, but we don't want to leave because we don't want to go through the pain of leaving. We don't want to go through the conversation that is required. Just because something feels bad doesn't mean it is bad. When you spend all your time escaping emotional pain, you don't have any time left to address the real issue behind it. Don't shoot the messenger. The emotions are just the messenger. Your emotions are the messenger that is bringing you a message of guidance, warning, or even that you're on the right course. See, again, like I said, everything that feels bad is not necessarily bad. It's like working out, right? It doesn't always feel good, but that doesn't mean that it's not good. It's like denying yourself that extra piece of chocolate cake. It doesn't always feel good, but it doesn't mean that it's not good. Gotta be careful there. And then the last part is the number 5 is just choosing your emotions over your values. That's a deep one right there. And I think that's where a lot of us, stumble. We have our emotional feeling over here, and then we have our values. And so sometimes you have to choose your values and not let your emotions rule and overshadow your values. I think most of us understand that a lot of truly valuable goals in our life require struggle. You know, it's like I was saying before, in order to save up enough money for a comfortable retirement, you have to be willing to feel the disappointment of putting away 10% of your paycheck into savings instead of taking the trip to Cancun. That is the root of that is a value. If you want to be the fastest sprinter in the race, you have to be willing to endure the pain of doing the workouts in practice. If you want to learn to play the piano, you have to be willing to endure the boredom and the difficulty that goes along with practicing your scales. Many of the best things in life require the willingness to feel bad. That's why you can't be afraid of your emotions, and your emotions can't run your life, because something may make you feel bad in the moment, but then there's a bigger picture. See, emotions give you bad information just as often as they give you good information. The trick is to be neither dismissive or naively accepting of your emotions. All right, so now let's get into a few highlights from our reading this week. Everybody doing okay? All right, I see y'all in the chat. Okay, let's go over. We're going to dig into this fear a little bit, because now we started. I think I got you sparked a little bit about your emotions, and you can go back and listen to this. Fear is a powerful form of thought. It paralyzes the nerve centers, thus affecting the circulation of your blood. This in turn paralyzes the muscular system so that fear affects the entire being, your body, your brain, and your nerve, physical, mental, and muscular system, everything. You all have heard me on here explain what happens to us in fight or flight. Okay. When we go into fight or flight, we see something, it's big, we're afraid of it. Our mind automatically says either you're going to fight it or you're going to run away from it. And when your brain or your mind says fight or run away, then your physical body, your mind sends a signal to your physical body that gets you ready to fight or run away. What does it do? It starts to redirect the blood in your body from your organs to your muscles so that you can fight or flee. It's that adrenaline rush that you see when you see mothers pull cars up off of their babies because the baby may have gotten hit. This is what happens. And so temporarily, until you get away from that thing that you're trying to fight or run away from, your organs suffer for a minute because the blood gets redirected to the muscles, to your legs so you can run, to your arms so you can fight, to your brain so you can think. But what happens if you're always afraid? What happens if you live in a chronic or a perpetual state of fear? This is what happens to our people. This is why we end up with high blood pressure. This is why we end up in kidney failure and liver failure. Our organs start to die out because we are constantly taking away the nourishment that our organs need and sending it to our muscles. And then what happens? Our lymphatics can't drain because our muscles are inflamed. Our blood flows too hard and it's constantly beating up on our organs. Next thing you know, our heart is bad. Our kidneys are beat up. Our organs are like, man, why don't she turn that blood flow down some? Well, that's why meditation and putting yourself in a state where you are less fearful will help prolong your life. That's why meditation and yoga, things like that, and prayer are so effective physiologically. How do we overcome being overwhelmed by fear? The way to overcome fear is to become conscious of power. Let's put that in the chat. The way to overcome fear is to become conscious of power. See, a lot of times we're afraid because we don't think we have the power to fight something and win or run away and get away. We don't know where the power source is. Somebody doing something to you and you just don't know where it's coming from. So the question here is, what is the source of power? This is where our study of cause and effects comes into play. You guys see this as we start to get to the end of the book. All this stuff starts to come full circle. The question is, what is the cause of the source of power? In seeking the truth, we are seeking ultimate cause. The power is in the cause. What is causing this? We know that every human experience is an effect. So we're out here living our lives. It's an effect of our God. Then if we may ascertain the cause, and if we shall find that this cause is one which we can consciously control, the effect or the experience will be within our control also. So when you have something that you're afraid of, using those emotional techniques we talked about earlier and going to the cause, what is triggering me? What is making me afraid? Once you understand what the cause is and you can gain control or change the way you think about the cause, then you can impact the effect. Let me know in the chat if y'all getting this. Human experience will then no longer be the football of fate. This is what the author says. A man will not be the child of fortune, but of destiny. Fate and fortune will be controlled as readily as a captain controls his ship or an engineer his train. We are in the presence of continual change. Somebody put that in the chat. We are in the presence of continual change. And I want you guys to just sit with that concept for a minute. We are in the presence of continual change. What's causing that continual change? It's the movement and the pulsation of the earth and the universe that we live in. It's constantly moving and changing. And we know that this change is the evolution of Allah's universal mind, the grand process whereby all things are continually being created anew. And we come to know that matter is but a form that the mind takes. Matter, we talk about manifestation. So let's say it this way. Manifestation, these things we're trying to accomplish, is really just the formation of the thought. And the extent of which our mind is connected to the mind of God determines how we continue to change and grow. God is constantly creating and recreating himself. Type that in the chat. God is constantly creating and recreating himself over and over and over again. We can't even count the massively rapid pace of recreation. That's how fast it happens, and that's how often it happens. We can't even count it. I don't even think we have a computer machine that can tell you how fast something is being created every millisecond. God is constantly creating and recreating himself. I'll tell you this is a funny thing. I was talking to a sister who asked me if I felt the urge to dumb myself down or to stop growing so that I could get married. And I started laughing. I said, oh, sister, I am a believer. I believe in Allah with my entire being. I dedicate my life to him. I love him so much. I feel the pain and the beauty of his constant creating and recreating. I would never opt out of that cycle of life. You see, I know that he is creating men every single day, every millisecond. He's in the man creating business. So you think I'm going to opt out of experiencing both the pain and the beauty of his recreation just so that I can be stagnant and say I want a man when he is making men every single second? I don't have to worry about my evolution outpacing a man. God is making a man that is in his image. He makes men every single day. Do y'all know that? I want y'all to think about that. Every single day. So when people are bugging you saying, well, you got to slow down, you got to do this or that, there's a man out there that is looking for somebody just like you. There's a man out there that's looking for somebody just like me. There's a sister out there, brother, that is looking for somebody just like you. You don't have to stop evolving just to get somebody. Because Allah is in charge of all of that. He got you. So anyway, I told her, he's making a man who is evolving just like I am. I said, we on another level, sis. It's time to level up. We can't think like that. She just gave me a blank stare. She was probably like, oh, okay, you crazy. But it is what it is. Anyway, we have to then come to know that God's mind is the only principle which is operative in the physical, mental, moral, and spiritual world. And in essence, our mind is the only thing that can transcend those worlds. The mind can transcend the physical, it can transcend the mental, it can transcend the moral, it can transcend the spiritual. See, your mind can transcend all worlds. You have to accept that, and you have to know that. Your mind can go where you physically can't even think of going. We also know that this mind is static, and a mind at rest. We also know that the ability of the individual to think is its ability to act upon the universal mind and convert it into a dynamic mind or mind in motion. So, in other words, in order to get your mind to move and evolve and move through those spaces and those to make it just go through that time machine, in essence, you have to think. And the more you think, the more your mind will move. This is the engine that gets your mind moving through these different dimensions. But we have to know how to make proper use of material things in order to manifest the multidimensional mind. So what are the material things that we have to make proper use of? Here's a simple example. In order to do this, fuel must be applied in the form of food, for example. For a person cannot think without eating. And so we find that even a spiritual activity such as thinking cannot be converted into sources of pleasure and profit except by making use of material means. So what does that mean? We have to be able to live. That's why I think it's so powerful that the messenger told us to eat to live. And so our food selections, I was even studying the other day where somebody was talking to me about how you analyze different food that is in season and how food comes into season at different times of the year because it's designed vibrationally to get us through certain climates or certain positioning of the earth at that particular time. And I found that interesting because I was like, you know what, we think we eating healthy. We just eat what we want to eat and what we like, even if it's vegetables, but we don't think about what's in season and why is this particular fruit and vegetable in season? And why should we be eating certain things at certain times a year? Right? All right. So let's go into this. So anyway, the food that we eat, the thoughts is like is a type of electricity that is used by our brain and our mind to convert into the energy that propels us forward. It's our thought. Let's jump into wealth here before we finish up today. All wealth is the offspring of power. Somebody put that in the chat. All wealth is the offspring of power. Possessions are of value only as they transfer or confer power. So what is wealth? Wealth is an abundance of valuable possessions or a plentiful supply of a particular resource. Events are significant only as they affect power. All things represent certain forms and degrees of power. So why do we say somebody is wealthy? If they have a lot of stuff that confers power, like what? Money, maybe it's businesses, maybe it's cars, whatever we interpret as power, the abundance of that we consider wealth. So that's why the author says that wealth is the offspring of power. But when we redefine what is wealth, we talk about in our world, wealth being our relationship with Allah and being able to make his word bond, being able to make him known. That's how we look at wealth and how we define wealth. That's a whole nother class we'll get into at a certain point. Anyway, here's our homework. Each week, there's a meditative exercise that is given in this manifestation class. And if we're practicing these levels of meditation and these concentration techniques, it's like working out. It's like mental fitness. It's like lifting weights with your mind. And so it's important to practice these techniques and try to do it at least twice a day if you can't do it more, especially in the morning and especially in the evening. All right, so here's our exercise this week. Concentrate. Somebody type in the chat, concentrate. And the author says, and when I use the word concentrate, I mean all that the word implies. Concentrate, become so absorbed in the object of your thought. You got to choose something to think about. Become so absorbed in the object of your thought that you are conscious of nothing else, and do this a few minutes every single day. You take the necessary time to eat in order that the body may be nourished. Why not take the time to assimilate your mental food? And then he goes on to say, let the thought rest on the fact that appearances are deceptive. The earth is not flat, neither is it stationary. The sky is not a dome. The sun does not, well, he says the sun doesn't move. I disagree with that. The stars are not small specks of light, and matter, which was once supposed to be fixed, has been found to be in a state of perpetual flux. Try to realize that the day is fast approaching. So for example, what he's saying here, some of this language is really colorful. What he's saying to us here is this. Find an object, something that you want to focus on, something that you want, something that you desire. And I like to say, try it with something easy, something that you don't really have a lot of doubt about, and just sit and focus on that thing or that situation, and focus on it and allow yourself to focus on it so clearly that you don't see anything else. Focus on it so clearly that you don't see anything else. And just do that for 2 or 3 minutes a day. One good thing would be to do is, if you have gone through your reading but not done the exercises, go through each chapter and take the exercises and pick one a day and start practicing it. But you got to put in, you got to work out. You got to work out mentally. That's the idea. All right, y'all. That's our class for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget not to chip and dip me. I'm giving y'all life-changing information. I'm giving you information that I have already bought and paid for with my blood, sweat, and tears. So make a donation. You can do it on Cash App. You can donate to Sajdah House, but I want to see you all make a donation, because remember the flow of giving. All right, let me give you all the Sajdah House information so you can make a donation there. Just go to sajdahhousedonations.com, make a donation, or go to MOEToday on the Cash App, and Cash App, just keep the flow going. That's the idea. You receive something and you want to give. Never receive something and act like you just stole it, or like you ain't gonna get no more, and you go over in the corner and hide it and bury it like you ain't going to get any more. Whenever you give, get. Whenever you get something, make sure you give. Whenever you receive something, make sure you give. Make sure you are creating that flow. That's the flow of the universe. It's a flow. It's a give and take. It's a give and receive. When you need something, you make sure you give. I spend my life giving. People ask me all the time, how did you do this? How do you get that? How does that happen? It's because I'm always giving. And in turn, the universe knows that I will always give. So it's no problem giving me things. So, all right, with that, make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Make sure you go to Instagram and Facebook, follow me there, and make your donations. Peace and blessings. Let me know in the chat how you all like class tonight. We are on part 19. There's 24 chapters, so we're rolling. All right, do your homework. Make sure you do your reading and study. Put in the mental and spiritual labor every single day. Until next time, peace and blessings.